Welcome to Peak TV. I'm Dagan, Executive Director of Peak Asset Management. We've got Conor Daley from Peak, David Peterson, CEO of Latrobe. David, Conor, welcome.
Morning, Neil.
Yeah, so David, it's been a fantastic year for Latrobe Magnesium and a very busy sort of finish to the end of the year. We just want to say thank you for the support and the work that you've done and look forward to 2022. You recently announced a $23 million project loan. This makes your initial plan fully funded. However, interest rates sort of seemed a little high. Can you explain your strategy around this to the investors viewing?
Yeah, well, we actually made an announcement this morning because we were able to reduce that rate down from 14 to 12%. And that's traditionally around the pretty low end of the R&D funding, if you're funding research and development rebates. So that's probably the lowest you can get. And when you start looking at the drawdown schedule and the rebate schedule, what you see is probably something that's more effectively close to 10%. So, we're happy with that rate because of that. And we were able to reduce that rate because of the purchase of Tramway Road over the weekend, or the exchange on the purchase, I should say.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. And sort of drawing back to the ESG theme, following your recent energy optimization work, can you advise what your CO2 emissions are now looking like for the project?
Yeah, well, you would have seen just prior to that we were able to reduce our costing on the CapEx by 6 million, from 45 to 39 million. Part of that was re-looking at the process works. So we actually dropped down the size of the process works, and we were able to then get an energy saving. So the energy saving basically reduces our direct emissions from 10.2 tonnes of CO2 per tonne of mag down to 7.5. So it's a fairly substantial saving. The other thing we learned the other day was also that there are basically 500 metres away, there is the Morwell solar farm that is actually has been approved by the council and is sitting in front of the state government at the moment for approval. They were hopeful that would be approved by now, and then it would only take them 12 months to be in operation. If we can hook into that, which there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to, then we're talking about zero emissions for the 10,000 tonne plant, which is a great step forward. Will be, without a doubt, the best in the world.
And David, I might just jump in here. I mean, before we jump on why you purchased Tramway Road, I mean, that's a really important point, the fact that you can actually potentially offset some of the utilising the carbon emissions against some of the costs. Is that right?
No, what's happening is we're just replacing the gas to solar, because we can use the induction furnaces. So that's all we're doing. And they're more efficient, and therefore we'll get better operating costs. We haven't taken that into consideration yet. We will when we finish the study. But effectively, the solar power farm next door is 70 megawatts, and it's going to have some battery capacity, which is great for us. We only require 15 megawatts to run the 10,000 tonne plant. So all of a sudden, we've swapped the solar straight away, and we're zero emissions because we only emit from the gas.
That's fantastic. And just on Tramway Road, what's the main driver of the purchase?
Well, the real driver was we're doing a lot of improvements to that site. We've already done probably $500,000 improvements to the site. We actually set the price. It was a fixed price in an option we did 9 years ago. And when you start looking at the unimproved value of the land, which is about $2 million, you start looking at the cranes that we're buying and the replacement value of those are around $2.8 million. It's a pretty good buy. We end up with 14,000 square metres of industrial buildings and admin buildings for next to nothing.
And David, I know we touched about the carbon emission side, but what are the plans leading into moving to zero emissions by 2050?
Well, it's as we mentioned, we're looking around for solar. We're speaking to Energy Australia, who of course own your lawn, and we're very close to. We've got an electricity deal with them. We've asked them to consider offset agreements in that. So in other words, if they've got a solar farm not in the valley, and we can't get one in the valley, then we'll still look to buy those offset agreements and then basically swap that out against our energy consumption and once again reach zero. We're also actually talking to one of our previous funders about even just looking at what's the economics behind building one ourselves, especially when we start talking about bigger plants. So, we're exploring all those issues. So we can actually, we're not talking 2050 here, we're talking 10,000 tonne June 2024. So that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I know we caught up for dinner together, and it's just incredible that you are going to be starting to generate revenues, within 12 to 14 months away. So that's very exciting. And on that note, David, you recently advised the market you're moving to a pre-feasibility study on 100,000 TPA from 10,000. That's a big upgrade, and the estimated EBITDA is over 500 million. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, we thought, there's been, as we all know, in China, the shortages in China, we believe that's going to be around for 2022. While it's up, it's forefront in everyone's mind, we thought it was best to have the discussions with a JV partner that could come in, do a joint venture on the equity, as well as taking a fairly substantial offtake agreement. So it solves their solutions for the long term. I mean, it takes probably 4 years to get a project up, and with 100,000 tonner, we can bring that forward probably to 2025, 26, purely on the back of it's finding a suitable joint venture partner, basically settling on our locations. We have a couple of locations earmarked, and both of which will be on renewables. So once again, we're looking at that ESG component, and we think it's a great project. We'll look at a supply agreement in 2022. I think what we're trying to do is get the bank pre-fees done, and the pre-fees only because we need to have the partner settled, then we can settle on the site, the location. So that's why it's a pre instead of a bankable feasibility. Then we'll go straight into bankable, and we'd hope to achieve most of that in 2022. I mean, the China situation, we don't believe is going to go away quickly. Last time when this sort of arose around the Summer Olympics, it took 2 years. And what we've seen in the price recently is, it hit a high of 10.4, came back to 5.4. It's back up to 7,000 now, FOB China. So, it isn't going away, and it's going to be solved quickly.
Look, we're really excited by it. I mean, you're doing an exceptional job. It seems like there's a lot in the pipeline. 2022 with offtakes, with a ramp up, with the zero carbon emissions, with the project. Looking forward to hosting even a side visit over 2022, as we talked about. So, David, just for you and your family, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thanks for all the support. And looking forward to a huge year in 2022 and beyond. So, thank you.
Yeah, and certainly thanks, Nib and Conor, for the support.